In the freezing winter cold, a little boy curled up on the floor, carefully shaping each letter in a note to Santa Claus. He didn't ask for toys, only a warm home shoes that wouldn't get soaked, and for his mother to stop crying every night. The next day, he slipped the letter into a mailbox in front of a tall building, with a corner office believing that was where Santa worked. And what he didn't know was that his whole life might change from that moment on, once the identity of the person who received his letter was revealed. Before we go back, let us know where you're watching from, and subscribe because tomorrow I've got something extra special for you. The cold bit through everything. Jamal Brooks sat on the wooden floor of the living room, his 6-year-old fingers wrapped around a red crayon. His breath came out in little white puffs like he was a tiny dragon, but dragons lived in warm caves with treasure. Jamal lived in a house where the heater coughed and died 3 days ago. "Baby, you okay over there?" His mama's voice came from the kitchen. Naomi Brooks stood at the counter, still wearing her diner uniform, that ugly brown polyester thing with the name tag that always hung crooked. Her hands were red and cracked. She'd just gotten home from her second shift, the one where she cleaned office bathrooms downtown. "I'm good, Mama." Jamal wasn't good. His toes were numb inside his socks, the ones with the hole near the big toe that Mama kept saying she'd fix. The Christmas lights outside Mr. Peterson's house across the street blinked red and green through their window. Everything out there looked warm. Everything in here felt like the inside of a freezer. He looked down at the paper in front of him. He'd been working on it for almost an hour trying to get the words right. The paper was wrinkled because he'd pulled it from the recycling bin, the clean side of an old bill. To Santa Claus, the one in the corner office, he'd heard Mrs. Henderson at the diner talking last week. She'd been complaining about her boss saying, "Only the guy in the corner office gets to decide everything." Jamal had thought about that a lot. If corner office people decided everything, then Santa, who decided who got presents, must work in a corner office too. It made perfect sense. His hand moved carefully, forming each letter. Writing was hard. His teacher, Miss Parker, said he was getting better, but these words felt too important to mess up. "Dear Santa, my name is Jamal. I am 6. I go to Maple Creek Elementary. I don't want toys this year. I know you're probably really busy, but I need to ask you something important." He paused, chewing his bottom lip. The cold made it harder to think. From the kitchen, he heard his mama opening the refrigerator. The light from it was the brightest thing in the house right now. "My mama works 2 jobs. She gives me the last piece of toast every morning and says she already ate, but I know she didn't. Sometimes at night when she thinks I'm asleep, I hear her crying. She tries to be quiet, but our house is small." Jamal's eyes stung. He blinked hard. Big boys didn't cry. Mama said he was her big, strong man now. "We don't have heat. Mama says the landlord will fix it, but it's been 3 days and it's so cold. I can see my breath inside." Mama's hands shake when she tucks me in, not because she's scared, because she's cold. The refrigerator door closed. Mama's footsteps came closer. "What you drawing, baby?" Jamal quickly folded the paper in half. "Just making a Christmas card." Naomi knelt beside him, her knees cracking. She was only 32, but she moved like someone much older. She wrapped an arm around his shoulders, and even through her uniform, Jamal could feel how cold she was. "That's real nice of you." She kissed the top of his head. "You hungry? I brought home some dinner rolls from the diner. Mr. Chen said we could have them." "I'm okay, Mama." "Jamal." Her voice had that tone, the one that meant she knew he was lying. "Really? I ate it after school program." That part was true. He'd had 2 pieces of pizza and an apple. He'd also wrapped up a 3rd piece of pizza in a napkin and hidden it in his backpack for Mama, but she didn't need to know that yet. Naomi studied his face for a long moment. Then she smiled, that tired smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "All right, but you tell me if you get hungry later, you hear." "Yes, ma'am." She stood up slowly, holding her lower back. "I'm gonna take a quick shower. The hot water should still be on." She paused. "Well, warm water anyway." After she left, Jamal unfolded the paper and kept writing. "Santa, I don't want a bike or video games or anything like that. I just want 3 things. 1. A warm house for Mama so she doesn't shake anymore. 2. Shoes that don't get wet when it snows. Mine have a whole 3. For Mama to stop crying when she thinks I'm asleep. I know this is a lot to ask. Miss Parker says you're very busy this time of year. But Mama says you help people who really need it. And Santa, we really need it. I've been good this year. I got all A's and B's on my report card. I help Mama fold laundry. I don't complain when dinner is just butter noodles again. Please, Santa. I don't care about presents. I just want Mama to be warm. Love, Jamal Brooks, age 6. Maple Creek, Colorado. He drew a small house at the bottom of the letter. Then he drew a sun over it with lines coming down. Heat, he figured. That's what he wanted. Just heat. The shower turned off. Mama would be out soon. Jamal folded the letter carefully and tucked it into his backpack. Tomorrow on the way to the bus stop, he'd find a mailbox. He'd send it to the North Pole. Or maybe to somewhere closer. He'd seen that big glass building downtown. The one Mama walked past every morning on the way to her first job. It had gold letters on the front, Whitmore Capital, and through the windows he'd glimpsed offices. One of them had to be a corner office. If Santa was anywhere, he was probably there. Important people worked in buildings like that, and Santa was the most important person Jamal could think of. Outside, the wind picked up. It whistled through the gap under the front door, the one Mama had tried to block with a rolled-up towel. The Christmas lights across the street kept blinking cheerful and warm, and so far away. Jamal pulled his thin hoodie tighter around his body and waited for his Mama to finish her shower. In his backpack, the letter waited too. A red pencil prayer from a 6-year-old boy who'd stopped asking for toys and started asking for miracles. The cold bit through everything, but hope Jamal figured didn't need heat to survive. Morning came gray and bitter. Naomi rushed around the small house, her breath visible in the air. "Baby, we gotta go. Mama's gonna be late and you're gonna miss the bus." Jamal pulled on his jacket, the one that used to fit, but now rode up his wrists. He grabbed his backpack, feeling the folded letter inside. His heart hammered. Today was the day. They walked fast down Pinewood Road, Naomi practically jogging in her diner shoes. The houses around them were small, but most had smoke coming from chimneys lights on inside. Their house sat at the end of the street like a dark tooth. "Mama, can we go past Main Street?" Naomi checked her watch, the one with the cracked face. "Baby, that's 10 minutes out of the way." "Please, I want to see the Christmas decorations." She looked at him, her expression softening. "All right, but we gotta move quick." They turned onto Main Street, and Maple Creek came alive. Garland wrapped around every streetlight. Shop windows glowed with twinkling lights. The air smelled like coffee and cinnamon rolls from the bakery. And there, rising above everything else, was the glass building. Whitmore Capital. It gleamed even in the gray morning light. 20 stories of steel and glass with windows so clean they looked like mirrors. The front entrance had a revolving door that never stopped spinning people in suits in long coats flowing in and out like water. "Mama, what's that building?" That, Naomi barely glanced at it. "That's where rich folks get richer, baby. Not for people like us." But Jamal couldn't stop staring, and there, right next to the revolving door, was a mail drop box. Not the blue USPS kind. This one was sleek and dark green with gold lettering, Whitmore Capital, internal mail. His pulse raced. This was it. This was where Santa's corner office had to be. "Mama, I need to tie my shoe." "Jamal, we don't have." "Please, it's coming undone." Naomi sighed. "Make it quick." Jamal knelt down, his fingers fumbling with laces that weren't actually untied. His Mama turned to check her phone, muttering about the bus schedule. This was his chance. He slipped the folded letter from his backpack, his hands shaking, but not from the cold this time. The mail slot was high, meant for adults. Jamal had to stand on his tiptoes, stretching as far as he could. The paper touched the slot. "Santa," he whispered, "please be in there." He let go. The letter disappeared into the darkness with a soft thunk, like a door closing, like a wish being locked away somewhere safe. "All right, shoe tied." Naomi turned back around. "Yes, ma'am." "Then let's go, baby." "Come on." They hurried toward the bus stop, but Jamal kept looking back at the building. 20 stories of glass reaching toward the sky. Somewhere up there in a corner office, someone would read his letter. Someone would help. He had to believe that. Inside the building, morning chaos unfolded. Renee Miller, executive assistant to Daniel Whitmore, stood at the mail sorting station in the lobby. She was 43, efficient, and had worked for Whitmore Capital for 12 years. She knew every procedure, every protocol. "Morning, Renee," called Tom, the security guard. "Got the internal mail here. Looks like a light day." Renee took the canvas bag and dumped its contents onto the sorting table. Business envelopes, most of them. Contract renewals, meeting requests, the usual corporate noise. Then something different caught her eye. A piece of paper wrinkled and folded inexpertly. No envelope. The words on the outside written in red crayon, the letters wobbly to Santa Claus, the one in the corner office. "What the hell?" Renee muttered. Tom leaned over. "Kid's letter." "Looks like it." Renee unfolded it carefully, her eyes scanning the words. Her throat tightened. "My mama works 2 jobs. She gives me the last piece of toast. I can see my breath inside." "Poor kid," Tom said softly. Renee folded it back up. Protocol said she should discard it. It wasn't business correspondence, but something stopped her. Maybe it was the red crayon. Maybe it was the line about the mama crying. "I'm taking this upstairs," she said. "To Whitmore Renee, he doesn't read personal." "I know what he reads." She tucked the letter into her portfolio. "But this one's different. 20th floor, corner office." Daniel Whitmore stood at his window, looking down at Maple Creek like a king surveying his kingdom. Except he felt nothing like a king. Kings, he imagined, felt powerful. Daniel just felt tired. 60 years old, silver hair, sharp suit, a face that had learned to show nothing. His office was warm, almost too warm, with central heating that he controlled from a panel on his desk. His coffee was hot. His leather chair was comfortable. Everything was comfortable. Everything was empty. "Mr. Whitmore," Renee's voice came through the intercom. "I have the morning correspondence." "Come in." Renee entered with her usual efficiency, setting a stack of papers on his desk. Contract review on top, the Henderson merger, meeting request from Senator Blake's office. She paused. "And this." She placed the folded paper on top of everything else. Daniel glanced at it. "What is this?" "A letter. It came through the internal mail drop." He looked closer, saw the red crayon, the uneven handwriting. "This is a child's letter." "Yes, sir." "To Santa Claus." "Yes, sir." Daniel picked it up, frowning. "Renee, why?" "Just read it," she said quietly. "Please." There was something in her voice, something that made him pause. He unfolded the letter, and everything stopped. "My name is Jamal. I am 6. Daniel's eyes moved down the page. Each word landed like a punch. "She gives me the last piece of toast. I hear her crying. We don't have heat." His hand started to shake. "I just want 3 things. A warm house for Mama." "Jesus," he whispered. Renee stood silent, waiting. Daniel read it again, then a 3rd time. The words blurred. His office felt too hot, suddenly suffocating. He set the letter down carefully, like it might break. Where did this come from? The internal mailbox. Someone, probably the child, must have dropped it there, thinking it would reach, well, Santa Claus. Renee's voice was gentle. "The return information is minimal. Just a first name and Maple Creek, Colorado." Daniel stared at the letter, red crayon. "Age 6. Please, Santa. I don't care about presents. I just want Mama to be warm." And suddenly, he wasn't in his corner office anymore. He was in a different house 23 years ago. A big house, yes, but just as cold in its own way. "Daddy, Daddy, I'm scared. There's thunder. Aaron, I'm working. Get your mother." "Mommy's asleep. Daddy, please." "I said I'm working. Go back to bed." The memory hit him like a fist. His son, Aaron, 7 years old, standing in the doorway of his home office. Pajamas with dinosaurs on them. Eyes wet with tears. Daniel had been working on a merger. Something important, he'd told himself. Something that couldn't wait. Aaron had gone back to bed alone. 2 years later, Laura, his wife, died. Breast cancer stage 4. And Daniel had kept working. Kept hiding in corner offices and quarterly reports. Kept choosing contracts over conversations. Aaron stopped trying to reach him. By 15, they barely spoke. By 22, Aaron left and never came back. That was 8 years ago. Daniel hadn't seen his son in 8 years. "Mr. Whitmore," Renee's voice pulled him back. "Are you all right?" He wasn't all right. He was 60 years old, sitting in a corner office that suddenly felt like a tomb. A 6-year-old boy had written to Santa Claus, asking for heat, and got shuffled to a CEO who'd let his own son grow up cold. Not cold like Jamal's house. Cold in a different way. The kind of cold that came from absence. From closed doors and not now. And "I'm too busy." "Find him," Daniel said. "Sir?" "The boy. Jamal. Find him." Daniel stood up, his decision made. "There's a partial address on the letter, Maple Creek. Can't be that many Brooks families with a 6-year-old. Mr. Whitmore, I'm not sure that's—" "Renee." He looked at her, and maybe she saw something in his face. Something raw and desperate. "This child wrote to Santa Claus in a corner office, and I'm the poor bastard who ended up reading it, so I'm going to find him." Renee nodded slowly. "I'll make some calls. Make them quick." After she left, Daniel sat back down. He picked up the letter again, his hand steadier now. The drawing at the bottom, a house with a sun over it, rays of heat coming down, a child's hope rendered in red crayon. "Jamal," he whispered to the empty office, "I'm sorry you're cold. I'm sorry your mama cries. I'm sorry you had to write this letter at all." Outside his window, Maple Creek stretched out below. Somewhere down there in a house without heat, a 6-year-old boy was probably sitting in school right now, wondering if Santa had gotten his letter. Daniel looked at the drawing again, the sun with its rays of warmth. "I got it," he said softly, "and this time I'm not going to close the door." He pressed the intercom. "Renee, cancel my morning meetings." "All of them, sir. All of them." "May I ask why?" Daniel folded the letter carefully and tucked it into his jacket pocket right over his heart. "Because a 6-year-old just reminded me what corner offices are actually supposed to be for." 40 minutes later, Daniel's phone buzzed. "Found him," Renee's voice said. "Naomi Brooks, single mother, one dependent, rents a property on Pinewood Road. The landlord's company is actually one of our subsidiary holdings, Morrison Properties." Daniel's jaw tightened. "We own the building." "Indirectly. There's been multiple work orders filed for heating repairs. None completed." The anger came swift and cold. "Get Morrison on the phone. Now." "Already did. He says the repair contractor keeps—" "I don't care what he says. Tell him if that heater isn't fixed by end of day, I'm finding a new property manager." Daniel grabbed his coat. "What's the address?" 127 Pinewood Road. "Mr. Whitmore, are you—" "I'm going there." "Sir, wouldn't it be more appropriate to send social services or at least call first?" Daniel paused at the door. "Renee, when's the last time someone from social services showed up at your door and actually made things better?" She didn't answer. "Exactly." He pulled on his coat, a black wool overcoat that cost more than Naomi Brooks probably made in 2 months. "This letter ended up on my desk. That makes it my responsibility." "That's not how responsibility works, sir." "Maybe not." Daniel looked at the letter one more time before tucking it back in his pocket. "But it's how it's going to work today." He took the elevator down, ignoring the confused looks from employees as their CEO walked through the lobby in the middle of a workday. Tom, the security guard, actually did a double take. "Mr. Whitmore is everything." "Fine, Tom. Everything's fine." It wasn't fine. Nothing had been fine for years. But maybe today he could make something fine for someone else. The drive to Pinewood Road took 15 minutes. Daniel's Mercedes felt obscene on these streets. Sleek black paint and leather seats gliding past houses with peeling siding and chain-link fences. He'd lived in Maple Creek his whole life and never driven down this road. Not once. Number 127 sat at the end of the street like a surrender. The house was small, painted a faded yellow that might have been cheerful once. Now it just looked sick. The roof sagged in the middle. One window was covered with duct tape. The small porch had 3 stairs, 2 of them rotted through. Daniel parked at the curb and sat for a moment, his hands on the steering wheel. What was he doing? What was he possibly going to say? "Hi, I'm a CEO who read your son's letter to Santa, and now I'm here to—" What? Fix everything. His phone buzzed. A text from Renee Morrison says the heater will be repaired today. Contractor is already dispatched. Daniel typed back, "Good. I'm here now, at the house." "Yes, sir. Are you sure this is—" He shut off his phone. The cold hit him the moment he stepped out of the car. It was the kind of cold that found every gap in your clothing, every space between buttons. His overcoat helped, but his hands were already going numb. He walked up the cracked sidewalk, stepped carefully around the rotted porch stairs, and knocked on the door. Nothing. He knocked again, louder. Still nothing. Daniel checked his watch. 2:47 p.m. The boy would be in school. The mother was probably at work. He'd driven all the way out here for nothing. He turned to leave, and that's when he saw it. Through the front window, past the duct-taped glass, a small Christmas tree. Plastic maybe 2 feet tall, decorated with homemade ornaments, paper snowflakes, popcorn strings, things made with love instead of money. And under it, a single wrapped present. The wrapping paper was from a newspaper, the comics section. Daniel's throat closed up. He thought about his own house. The real Christmas tree his housekeeper set up every year, 8 feet tall, professionally decorated, lit with white lights that cost more than this family's monthly rent. He thought about the presents under it still in their Amazon boxes because he'd never bothered to wrap them. Gifts for people he barely knew, business associates and distant relatives' obligations checked off a list. When was the last time he'd made something with his own hands? When was the last time he'd made anything for Aaron? The door suddenly opened. Daniel jumped back, startled. A woman stood there, mid-30s, but looking older, dark skin hair pulled back tight, wearing that brown diner uniform. Her eyes were suspicious and tired and ready for bad news. "Can I help you?" Her voice was flat. She'd answered this door before Daniel realized. Landlords, bill collectors, people with clipboards, and bad news. "Are you Naomi Brooks?" Her shoulders tensed. "Who's asking?" Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out the letter. He held it up, and her eyes widened. "Where did you get that?" "Your son, Jamal. He dropped this in a mailbox downtown. It ended up on my desk." Daniel's voice was gentler than he'd used in years. "I'm Daniel Whitmore. I'm here about the letter." Naomi's face went through several emotions at once: confusion, embarrassment, anger, fear. She snatched the letter from his hand. "Did my son do something wrong? Because we don't have money for—" "No. God, no." Daniel held up his hands. "He didn't do anything wrong. He wrote a letter asking for help. And I want to help. We don't need charity." The words came out hard, defensive. "We're fine. Mrs. Brooks. Miss Brooks. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to play savior or anything like that." He took a breath, trying to find the right words. "Your son's letter reminded me of something I'd forgotten, something about what matters, and I want to help, if you'll let me." Naomi stared at him, really looked at him, took in the expensive coat, the polished shoes, the kind of face that didn't know what cold felt like. "You read this?" She held up the letter. "Yes, all of it, every word." Her eyes got wet. She looked away, blinking hard. "He wasn't supposed to send that. He's 6. Kids think Santa can fix everything." "Maybe he can." Daniel gestured to the house. "May I come in, just for a few minutes?" Naomi hesitated. Then slowly she stepped aside. The cold inside hit Daniel immediately. It was colder than outside, that dead, heavy cold of a house without heat. His breath came out in white puffs. On the couch, he saw blankets piled up. In the kitchen, the oven door was open, probably to give off what little warmth it could. "Jesus," he whispered. "Landlord says he's working on it." Naomi's voice was defensive again. "Says the contractor keeps flaking. The landlord works for me." The words came out harder than Daniel intended. "And the heater will be fixed today. I've already made the call." Naomi blinked. "You? What?" "Morrison Properties is a subsidiary of my company. I didn't know about the work orders until an hour ago, but I know now. It'll be fixed today." "I don't understand." Naomi wrapped her arms around herself. "Why would you? You're a CEO. Why do you care about my heater?" Daniel looked at her, really looked at her, saw the cracked hands, the exhaustion, the way she held herself like she was bracing for the next blow. And he thought about Laura, how she'd held herself the same way during chemo, trying to stay strong for Aaron while her body broke down. "Because your son wrote a letter asking Santa for heat," Daniel said quietly. "And somehow that letter found me. And maybe I can't fix everything, but I can fix this." Naomi's jaw worked. She was fighting tears, he could tell. "We can't pay you back. I'm not asking you to." "There's always a catch." "No catch. People don't just help for free." "Maybe they should." Daniel met her eyes. "Miss Brooks, I'm not a good man. I've spent the last 20 years choosing profits over people. I lost my son because I prioritized work over being a father. I can't fix that, but I can make sure your son doesn't grow up in a house where he can see his breath." The silence stretched between them. Then from outside came a sound, a school bus. Naomi's head snapped toward the window. "Jamal," she said. Through the window, Daniel saw a small boy climbing off the bus. Dark skin, thin jacket, a backpack almost as big as he was. The boy walked slowly up the sidewalk, his shoulders hunched against the cold. Then he saw Daniel's Mercedes parked at the curb. His steps slowed. His eyes went wide. Naomi opened the door. "Baby, come on inside. We got a visitor." Jamal climbed the porch steps, carefully avoiding the rotten ones. His eyes never left Daniel. Then he saw what Naomi was holding, the red pencil letter. "Mama." His voice was small. Did I do something bad?" "No, baby." Naomi crouched down, pulling him close. "You didn't do anything bad." Jamal looked up at Daniel, and Daniel's heart broke clean in half. The boy's face was so hopeful, so scared, so desperate to believe in something good. "Are you—" Jamal's voice dropped to a whisper. "Are you Santa?" Daniel opened his mouth, closed it. He thought about Aaron's face at 7 years old, looking up at him with that same desperate hope. "Daddy, will you come to my play?" And Daniel had said no, had closed the door, had chosen work over wonder. Not this time. Daniel knelt down, getting on the boy's level. His knees protested 60-year-old knees on a cold wooden floor, but he didn't care. "Hi, Jamal," he said softly. "I'm Daniel. I got your letter." You're from the corner office." "I am." Jamal's eyes filled with tears. "I knew it. I knew Santa had a corner office. Did you come to help Mama?" Daniel looked at this 6-year-old boy who'd asked for heat instead of toys, who drew houses with suns over them, who believed in corner offices and Christmas miracles. And Daniel Whitmore, CEO, 60 years old, made a decision that had nothing to do with profit margins or quarterly reports. "Yes," he said, "I came to help your mama, and I came to help you." Jamal threw his arms around Daniel's neck, just launched himself forward, tiny arms wrapping tight face, pressing against Daniel's expensive coat. The boy smelled like school lunch and hope. Daniel's arms came up automatically, holding this child he'd just met. And for the first time in 8 years, for the first time since Aaron left, Daniel Whitmore let himself feel something other than cold. Daniel stood up slowly, Jamal still clinging to his coat. Naomi watched them, her expression caught somewhere between suspicion and something softer, maybe hope, maybe desperation. Hard to tell. "Mr. Whitmore," she started, then stopped. "I don't know what you think." "Daniel, please." He gently set Jamal down, the boy's grip reluctant to let go. "And I don't think anything except that your son asked for help, and help is something I can actually provide." He looked around the living room again, the piled blankets, the open oven, the bills taped to the refrigerator like warning flags. "The heater will be fixed today, but that's just the beginning." The beginning of what? Daniel didn't answer immediately. He was thinking running calculations the way he always did, but for once they weren't profit calculations. They were human ones. "Miss Brooks, do you have somewhere you and Jamal can stay tonight? Somewhere warm?" Her shoulders stiffened. "We're fine here." "With all respect, you're not. Even with the heater fixed this house." He gestured vaguely. "The insulation is shot. The windows are old. It'll take days to warm up properly." "We'll manage. We always do." "Mama's real good at managing." Jamal piped up, loyal as a soldier. "She can do anything." Naomi's face softened at her son's words, but Daniel saw the way her jaw tightened, the way her eyes went glassy for just a second before she blinked it away. "I have a guest house," Daniel said, "on my property. It's empty, has heat, a full kitchen. You're welcome to stay there until this place is properly livable again." "Absolutely not." The words came out sharp. "We don't know you. For all I know." "I understand." Daniel raised his hands, backing off. "You're right to be careful. I'm a stranger, but I'm also the person whose company owns this building and whose negligence left you freezing." He pulled out his phone. "I'm going to give you my assistant's number, Renee Miller. Call her. She'll verify who I am, run any background check you want. I'll wait." Naomi took the offered card, her fingers careful not to touch his. "This doesn't make sense. Rich people don't just show up and offer help." "They should," Daniel said quietly. Then, after a pause, "Look, I'm not doing this to feel good about myself. I'm doing this because I read your son's letter, and it reminded me that I have a son too. Had a son. Have one technically, but..." He trailed off the words harder than he expected. "I haven't seen him in 8 years. I wasn't there when he needed me. I can't fix that, but maybe I can be there for someone else's kid." The honesty hung in the air. Naomi studied him, really looked at him, and something in her expression shifted. Not trust, not yet, but maybe the beginning of understanding. "You got a son?" Jamal asked. "Is he at the North Pole too?" "No, buddy. He's..." Daniel crouched down again. "He's far away. We don't talk anymore. I made some mistakes, big ones." "Did you say sorry?" The simplicity of it. The way 6-year-olds could cut through years of complication and get right to the heart. "I tried," Daniel said. He didn't want to hear it. Jamal considered this seriously. "Mama says sorry only works if you mean it with your whole heart. Do you mean it with your whole heart?" Daniel felt his throat close up. "Yeah, buddy, I do." "Then maybe you gotta say it again. Sometimes people need to hear things more than once." Jamal shrugged like he just solved a simple math problem. "That's what Mama says anyway." Naomi was crying now, silent tears tracking down her face. She wiped them away quickly, but not before Daniel saw. "Baby, why don't you go change out of your school clothes?" she said, her voice thick. "I need to talk to Daniel." Jamal nodded and headed down the short hallway, his backpack thumping against his small frame. Once he disappeared into a bedroom, Naomi turned to Daniel. "My son thinks you're Santa Claus." "I know. You can't make promises you won't keep. Kids, they believe in things. They trust. And when adults break that trust," she shook her head, "it ruins something in them." "I know that too," Daniel said. "I saw it happen with my son." They stood there, two adults who'd failed in different ways, both trying to figure out how to do better. "One night," Naomi finally said, "we'll stay one night in your guest house. But that's it. Tomorrow I'm back here and we go back to normal." "Fair enough." Daniel pulled out his keys. "I'll drive you. We can take the bus." "Miss Brooks, please. It's cold, it's getting dark, and I'm offering a ride. Just let me do this one thing without arguing." Naomi's laugh was short, sharp, surprised. "You don't know many single mothers, do you?" "No, I don't. We argue because we have to, because the second we stop fighting, someone tries to take advantage." She grabbed her purse from the couch. "But fine. One ride. One night. Then we're even." "We're not even," Daniel said. "Not by a long shot, but it's a start." 20 minutes later, they were driving through the nicer part of Maple Creek. Jamal sat in the back seat, his eyes huge, taking in the leather interior and the dashboard that looked like a spaceship control panel. "This car is so clean," he whispered. "Does it fly?" Daniel caught his eyes in the rearview mirror. "Not yet. Maybe next year." Jamal grinned, and Daniel felt something twist in his chest. That grin. God, it looked like Aaron's grin used to look, back when Aaron still smiled around him. Naomi sat rigid in the passenger seat, her purse clutched in her lap like a shield. She watched the houses get bigger, the lawns get wider, the distance between properties stretch out like breathing room. "You live up here?" she asked quietly. "End of the road. The old Morrison estate. I bought it about 10 years ago." Morrison, as in the guy who owns our building. His father. "Old man Morrison sold it after his wife died. Couldn't stand being there alone." Daniel paused. "I bought it thinking I'd fill it with family. Never quite worked out that way." They turned onto a long driveway lined with bare oak trees. The main house appeared at the end, a sprawling two-story colonial with white columns and black shutters. Every window glowed yellow. It looked like a painting, like something from a magazine. "Holy!" Naomi didn't finish the sentence. "That's Santa's house." Jamal pressed his face against the window. "Mama, that's where Santa lives." "Baby, this isn't. The guest house is around back." Daniel interrupted gently. He pulled around the circular driveway, following a stone path to a smaller structure behind the main house. Smaller being relative, it was still bigger than Naomi's rental. The guest house was modern, all windows and clean lines. Daniel parked and killed the engine. Full kitchen, 2 bedrooms, bathroom with a tub. He handed Naomi a key. "Thermostat is inside the door. Set it wherever you want. There's food in the fridge, my housekeeper keeps it stocked. Linens in the closets. Anything you need, you call me." Naomi took the key like it might burn her. "Why are you doing this?" "I already told you." "No. The real reason. The one you're not saying." Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Because I read your son's letter and I realized I've spent 20 years living in a corner office making decisions about numbers and contracts, and somewhere along the way, I forgot that those numbers represent actual people, families, kids like Jamal." He looked at her. "I can't get those 20 years back, but maybe I can make sure your son doesn't grow up thinking corner office people don't care." Naomi's eyes were wet again. "Damn it," she whispered. "Stop saying things like that." "Like what? Like you're actually human." "I'm trying to be." Jamal had already jumped out of the car, running toward the guest house like it was Christmas morning. Naomi followed more slowly, Daniel trailing behind. The moment they stepped inside, Jamal gasped. "Mama, it's warm, it's so warm." It was. The heat was set to 72, and the space was cozy hardwood floors, soft lighting, a sectional couch facing a fireplace. Not ostentatious, just comfortable. Jamal ran from room to room, his voice echoing. "Mama, there's 2 beds, and a big TV, and the bathroom has a tub. A real tub." Naomi stood in the middle of the living room, turning slowly. Her shoulders started shaking. Daniel realized she was crying, really crying now, the kind of tears that had been held back too long. "Miss Brooks." "I can't remember the last time I was warm," she said, her voice breaking. I can't remember the last time I didn't have to choose between heat and food. The last time I didn't go to bed wondering if we'd get evicted. I can't." She covered her face with her hands. "This isn't fair. We don't deserve this." "Everyone deserves to be warm," Daniel said quietly. "Everyone deserves to not worry about basic things like heat and food. That's not privilege. That's just basic human dignity." "Mama." Jamal appeared in the doorway, his face worried. "Are you sad?" "No, baby." Naomi wiped her face quickly. "Mama's happy. These are happy tears." "Oh." He thought about this. "Can I take a bath in the big tub?" "Yeah, baby, you can." Jamal disappeared again, whooping. The sound of running water started a moment later. Naomi sank onto the couch, her whole body sagging like someone had cut her strings. "I don't know how to accept this." "You don't have to know. Just stay. Be warm. Let your son take a bath in a big tub." Daniel moved toward the door. "I'll be in the main house if you need anything. I'll come by in the morning, bring some breakfast. We can figure out next steps then." "What next steps?" "Making sure you don't have to go back to a freezing house. Making sure your son has warm shoes." Daniel paused at the door. Making sure a 6-year-old doesn't have to write letters to Santa asking for basic necessities. He left before she could argue, pulling the door closed behind him. The walk back to the main house felt longer than usual. The lights inside looked warm, but hollow. He'd lived here alone for years, just him and the housekeeper who came 3 times a week. All this space, all this warmth, and he'd never thought to share it. Inside the house was silent, except for the ticking of a grandfather clock in the foyer. Daniel stood in his massive kitchen marble counters, professional-grade appliances, a refrigerator the size of a closet, and felt suddenly crushingly alone. He pulled out his phone and scrolled to a contact he hadn't called in 8 years, Aaron Whitmore. His thumb hovered over the name. "Mama says, sorry only works if you mean it with your whole heart. Sometimes people need to hear things more than once." Daniel closed his eyes. Then he typed out a text. "Aaron, I know you don't want to hear from me. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know I'm sorry. I was a terrible father. I chose work over you, over your mother, over everything that mattered. I can't change that, but I'm trying to change who I am now. I love you. I never stopped loving you. I just forgot how to show it. Dad." He hit send before he could chicken out. The message showed as delivered. Then a moment later, read. Daniel waited. 1 minute, 2, 5. No response came. He set the phone down on the counter and looked around his empty kitchen. Outside, through the window, he could see the lights of the guest house. Could imagine Naomi and Jamal inside warm for the first time in who knows how long. It wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. But it was something. His phone buzzed. Not Aaron Renee. Heater is fixed at Pinewood property. Contractor says it should be fully functional by morning. Also, I did some checking. Miss Brooks works 2 jobs, both minimum wage. She's behind on rent, but only because Morrison kept raising prices. She's good for it. Just can't keep up with the increases. Daniel typed back, freeze her rent at current rate. No more increases. And find out what she needs to get ahead, not just get by. Sir, you're going to make me cry. Good. I've been crying on and off for 3 hours. Are you okay? Daniel looked at his phone for a long moment. Then I will be. Maybe. Someday. He poured himself a whiskey expensive stuff that tasted like smoke and regret and sat at his kitchen table. The house was so quiet. Too quiet. Like it was waiting for something. From his pocket, he pulled out Jamal's letter. The red crayon was smudged now from being handled. The drawing at the bottom, that little house with the sun, seemed to glow under the kitchen lights. I got your letter, Jamal, Daniel whispered to the empty room. And I'm going to make sure you stay warm. I promise. Outside in the guest house, Jamal was taking the longest, warmest bath of his life, and his mother was sitting on a couch that didn't have springs poking through in a house that didn't have wind whistling through the walls, crying tears that were maybe finally not entirely made of exhaustion and fear. And in the main house, a 60-year-old CEO who'd forgotten how to be a father sat alone with a child's letter and wondered if redemption was something you earned or something you had to create one small act at a time. The answer he suspected was the latter. Tomorrow he'd figure out next steps. Tomorrow he'd make a plan. Tonight he'd just be grateful that somewhere on his property, a 6-year-old boy was warm. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Morning came bright and cold. Daniel woke early. He'd barely slept, his mind churning with plans and memories and what-ifs. He showered dressed in jeans instead of a suit and headed to his kitchen. By 7 a.m., he had eggs, scrambled bacon, crispy toast buttered. He wasn't much of a cook. Laura had been the chef, but he remembered enough. He packed it all into a basket and headed toward the guest house. He knocked on the door, soft, careful. The door opened. Naomi stood there, her hair wrapped in a scarf. She'd clearly just woken up, but her eyes were clearer than he'd seen them. "Morning," Daniel said. I made breakfast." Naomi stared at him, then at the basket. "You made us breakfast. I mean, it's nothing fancy. I'm not much of a—" "You made us breakfast." She said it like she was trying to make sense of a foreign language. "A CEO made us breakfast." "I'm just a person who happens to have a job," Daniel said, "and people eat. So, eggs." A laugh burst out of Naomi, short, surprised, genuine. "Okay, yeah, come in." Inside, Jamal was bouncing on the couch in his pajamas. When he saw Daniel, his whole face lit up. "You came back, Mama. He came back. I told you he would, baby." They sat around the small dining table. Naomi ate slowly, carefully. Jamal devoured everything, telling Daniel about his bath and the bed without lumps. Daniel watched them and felt something unfamiliar contentment. "So," Naomi said, pushing her plate away, "what happens now?" "Now we figure out a plan," Daniel said. "Your house, the heater's fixed, but the place needs work. Real work. I've already got contractors lined up. It'll take a few weeks." "A few weeks?" Naomi's voice pitched up. "I can't stay here a few weeks." "Why not?" Because, she gestured helplessly. "This isn't— I have a job, 2 jobs. You'll keep working. I'm not stopping you." Daniel kept his voice calm. "But you'll come back here instead of that freezing house. Jamal will have somewhere warm to do homework. That's all." "That's not all. That's everything." Naomi's eyes were getting wet again. "You understand that, right? You're offering us everything. I'm offering you what everyone deserves to have in the first place." Jamal grabbed his stuffed rabbit and hugged it tight. "Mama, can we stay? Please, it's so warm here." Naomi looked at her son, then at Daniel, then down at her hands. "1 week," she said finally. "We'll stay 1 week while the house gets fixed, but I'm paying you back somehow. Naomi, if I'm going to be living in your guest house, you can call me Naomi." "Naomi." Daniel tested the name. "You don't owe me anything." "Everyone owes something. That's how the world works." "Maybe it shouldn't be." "Well, it is." She stood up. "I have to get ready for work." "I'll drive you." "The bus is fine." "Naomi." He said her name firmly. "You're staying on my property. That makes you my guests, and I'm not letting my guests stand at a bus stop in the cold. So please, just let me drive you." She opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. "Fine, but just this once." "We'll see about that." Jamal giggled. "You guys argue a lot." "We're not arguing," they said in unison, then looked at each other and almost smiled. The days fell into a pattern. Daniel drove them every morning. Naomi resisted at first, but eventually stopped fighting it. Jamal chattered in the back seat about school, about his friends, about everything. Daniel started working from home, more claiming the commute was unnecessary. Really, he just wanted to be nearby, to make breakfast, to see Jamal's homework, to talk to Naomi about her day. 3 days in, he asked her about her dream of opening a bakery. She'd mentioned it offhand, talking about her community college classes years ago. "I used to want that," she said quietly. "But dreams are expensive when you're trying to survive." "What if they didn't have to be?" "What are you talking about?" "Nothing. Yet. Just thinking." But Daniel was doing more than thinking. He was researching, calling Renee, looking at properties, making plans. On the 5th night, Naomi cooked dinner for all of them. Simple spaghetti, but it smelled like home. They ate together, and for the first time in years, Daniel's house felt alive. "Daniel," Jamal asked, "who's Aaron?" Daniel's hands tightened on his fork. "My son." "Where is he?" "We don't talk anymore. I made mistakes." Jamal considered this. "Did you say sorry?" "I did. He doesn't want to hear it." "Then you gotta say it better," Jamal announced. "Mama says a real apology has 3 parts. You say what you did wrong, you say why it was wrong, and you say how you're gonna fix it." From the passenger seat, Naomi made a small sound. When Daniel glanced over, she was wiping her eyes. That night, Daniel sat in his empty house and thought about Jamal's words, about apologies, about second chances. His phone buzzed. Not Aaron. A text from a number he didn't recognize. "This is Aaron. Don't text this number again." Daniel stared at the message until his vision blurred. He typed back, "Anyway, I understand. I'm sorry. I love you." The message showed as delivered, but not read. Probably blocked. Daniel set the phone down carefully. Some doors he realized got closed from the other side, and those you had to learn to live with. But maybe, just maybe, if he became the man he should have been, those doors might open again. It was a hope. Small and fragile, but it was something. The knock came on a Tuesday afternoon. Daniel was in his home office when he heard it. Sharp, insistent. He opened the door. A man stood there, early 30s, dark hair, eyes, the same shade of blue as Daniel's own. He wore a worn leather jacket and jeans, his jaw tight with anger. Aaron. The name came out like a prayer. Dad. Aaron's voice was cold. Can I come in? Daniel stepped back. His son. After 8 years, Aaron was here. Of course, yes, please. Aaron walked past him, eyes scanning the space. Nice place. Still spending money on things that don't matter. The barb landed. Can I get you something coffee? I'm not here for a social visit. Aaron turned. I'm here because Renee called me. Renee. Daniel's stomach dropped. I didn't ask her to. I know. She called on her own. Said you were different. That you'd taken in a family. Aaron's jaw clenched. She thought I should know. Aaron, I don't. Aaron held up a hand. I came to see for myself, to see if you're actually capable of caring about someone besides yourself. It's true, Daniel said quietly. There's a woman named Naomi and her 6-year-old son, Jamal. They're staying in the guest house. And you just took them in, out of the goodness of your heart. Aaron laughed bitterly. The same heart that couldn't find time to come to my graduation, my college graduation, the same heart that chose board meetings over mom's chemo. Each accusation was true. You're right, Daniel said. About all of it. Aaron blinked. What? You're right. I was a terrible father. I chose work over you, over your mother, over everything that mattered. I have no excuse. Daniel's voice cracked. I'm not asking for forgiveness, but I am trying to be different. Why now? Why not 10 years ago? Because I was a coward, Daniel said. I hid behind work because I didn't know how to be a person, how to be a father, and by the time I realized what I'd lost, it was too late. It's not too late, came a small voice. They both turned. Jamal stood in the doorway, wearing Daniel's oversized coat. Jamal, Naomi appeared behind him. I told you not to just run into the main house, but I wanted to see. Jamal stopped seeing Aaron. His eyes went huge. Aaron, like in my drawing. He ran over completely unafraid, looking up at Aaron with pure joy. I drew you. Do you want to see? Aaron looked down at this child. Sure. Wait here. Jamal ran off. Naomi stepped forward. I'm so sorry. He gets excited. You're Naomi, Aaron said stiffly. And you're Aaron, Daniel's son. She paused. He talks about you a lot. Jamal came running back with a drawing. 4 stick figures in front of a house. Daniel, Naomi, Jamal, and Aaron. See, that's you. You're in our family? Aaron stared at the drawing. You spelled my name wrong. Sorry, Jamal said. Spelling's hard. But see, Daniel misses you. He gets really sad when he talks about you. Jamal, Naomi said firmly. That's enough. Let's give them privacy. She herded Jamal out. Aaron watched them go, still holding the drawing. He's a good kid, Aaron said finally. He is. And she seems like she's been through hell. She has. Aaron set the drawing down. I can't just forgive you. I can't pretend the last 8 years didn't happen. I know. But, Aaron's voice broke, Eddie, but I don't want to be 8 years older and still this angry. I did love you, Daniel said, tears streaming. I do love you. I just didn't know how to show it. That's what I needed, Aaron whispered. Just you, present, paying attention. I know. And I can't get those years back. But Aaron, if you'll let me, I'll spend every day I have left trying to be the father I should have been. I don't know if I can believe that. Then let me show you. Stay for dinner. Meet them properly. See what I'm trying to do differently. Aaron stood there torn. Then slowly he nodded. One dinner. That's all I'm promising. That's more than I deserve, Daniel said. They stood together watching through the window as Jamal played in the snow, Naomi watching over him. The kid really just asked for heat, Aaron asked. Just heat. And shoes. And for his mom to stop crying. Damn. Aaron wiped his eyes. When I was 6, I asked you for a Batmobile. I bought you 3. I know. What I wanted was for you to build it with me. Aaron laughed hollowly. I broke all 3, out of spite. I never knew that. You were never around to notice. The words stung, but they were true. I'm around now, Daniel said. For whatever that's worth. Aaron didn't respond, just kept watching the boy and his mother in the snow. Okay, he said finally. Dinner, but I'm not making any promises. Understood. And for the first time in 8 years, Daniel and his son stood in the same room without one walking away. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a beginning. Dinner was awkward. They sat around the guest house table eating Naomi's pot roast. Jamal chattered between bites, oblivious to the tension. You're really Daniel's son, Jamal asked Aaron. Yeah, I am. How come you don't live with him? The house is really big. Jamal, Naomi warned. What, I'm just asking. Aaron set down his fork. It's complicated. Are you mad at him? The table went silent. Sometimes I get mad at Mama too, Jamal continued, but I'm not really mad at her. I'm just mad at being poor. He looked at Aaron. So are you mad at Daniel or mad at something else? Aaron stared at this child. I'm mad because my dad wasn't around when I was a kid, like your mom is around for you. But you are important. All kids are important. I know that now. But when you're a kid and your dad keeps choosing work, Aaron's voice cracked. It makes you think maybe you're not worth choosing. That's stupid, Jamal announced. Jamal, Naomi and Daniel said simultaneously. No, but it is. Daniel's really nice. He makes eggs, and he drives us places, and he fixed our house. Jamal looked at Aaron. So maybe he was bad before, but he's trying really hard now. Mama says people deserve second chances if they're really trying. Aaron's eyes were wet. Is that true? Are you really trying? Yes, Daniel said simply. Every day. Why now? Because I was a coward. I hid behind work because I didn't know how to be a person, how to be a father. It's not too late, Jamal interjected. You're both still alive. That means it's not too late. It's more complicated than that, baby, Naomi said. Why Daniel's sorry? Aaron's mad. Daniel says sorry, Aaron forgives him, and then they can be family again. That's not how it works with adults. Well, it should be. Jamal crossed his arms. You both love each other, I can tell. You're just scared. Aaron pushed back from the table. I need some air. He walked outside. Daniel followed. Aaron stood at the railing, shoulders hunched. He's right, you know. That kid. He's right. About what? About me being scared. Aaron turned. I'm terrified that if I let you back in, you'll just hurt me again. I understand that fear, and I can't promise I won't make mistakes. But Aaron, I swear I'm not going back to who I was. How do I know that? You don't. You just have to trust me, and that's a lot to ask from someone who learned you were untrustworthy. Aaron laughed bitterly. You keep saying, I know. Do you really know what it was like? Being 7 and watching other dads show up to games while mine was in meetings. Being 15 and finding out about mom's cancer from the oncologist because you were too busy. Being 22 and standing at mom's grave while you checked your phone. Each word was a knife. At her funeral, Dad, you answered emails at her funeral. I remember, Daniel whispered. Do you remember why I left? Yes, you said I'd chosen business over family my whole life, and you were done being the family I ignored. And I meant it. Aaron wiped his eyes. So why am I here? Why do I care? Because you're a better man than I ever was. Because even after everything, you still have hope that maybe I can change. I don't know if I have hope. I'm just so tired of being angry. The door opened. Jamal stepped out in Daniel's coat. I'm sorry. Mama says I made you sad. Aaron crouched down. You didn't make me sad, buddy. You just said things that were true. And sometimes true things hurt. But you're crying. Yeah. Is Daniel crying too? Daniel was. Yeah, Aaron said. Jamal grabbed both their hands. Mama says when people cry, they need hugs, so we should all hug. Jamal, I don't think, Naomi started. Come on, Jamal tugged. Nobody should cry alone. Aaron looked at Daniel. 8 years of silence, of anger, of hurt, and one 6-year-old boy refusing to let go, certain that love could fix what was broken. Adults do make things complicated, Aaron said. So stop, Jamal said simply. Just hug. Aaron took a step forward, then another, until he was close enough that Daniel could see the tears, the pain, the fragile hope. I don't forgive you, Aaron whispered. Not yet. I know, but I want to. Someday. I'll do whatever it takes. Shut up, Dad. Aaron's voice broke. Just shut up and... He stepped forward and wrapped his arms around his father. Daniel went rigid. Then his arms came up. He held his son and sobbed. I'm sorry, Daniel choked out, for everything. I know. Aaron was crying too. I know you are. Jamal wrapped his arms around both their legs. See, hugging helps. Naomi watched from the doorway, crying. They stood there, a father and son separated by 8 years, held together by a 6-year-old who believed in second chances. I don't know if I can trust you again, Aaron said eventually. We don't have to know. We just have to try. Yeah, Aaron pulled back, wiping his face. We can try, Jamal beamed. Does this mean Aaron can stay for Christmas? Aaron looked at Daniel. You're welcome to stay as long as you want, Daniel said quietly. I don't know about forever, Aaron said, but maybe Christmas. Maybe we start there. That's more than enough, Jamal cheered. Naomi herded him inside, leaving Daniel and Aaron alone. That kid, Aaron said, he's something else. He is. I'm going to go. I need time to process. Daniel's heart sank. Okay, but I'll come back. For Christmas. We can try. Really? Yeah, really. Aaron managed a smile. Besides, I want to meet that kid properly. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We have a long way to go. I know, but it's a start. Aaron moved toward his car, then paused. Dad, yeah, I missed you, even when I hated you. I missed you. Daniel's throat closed. I missed you too, son, every single day. Aaron nodded, then he drove away. Daniel stood there watching the taillights disappear. His son was coming back for Christmas. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was hope. Inside, Jamal waved from the window. Daniel waved back, and for the first time in 8 years, he walked into his house without feeling completely alone. The weeks before Christmas passed in a blur. Aaron came back twice, short visits, awkward but genuine. He and Daniel talked more than they had in years. They didn't fix everything, but they started. Naomi kept working, though Daniel had arranged childcare, so Jamal didn't have to tag along. The house on Pinewood Road was finished, knew everything, but they stayed in the guest house. Just until after Christmas, Naomi said. 3 days before Christmas, Daniel asked them to meet him downtown. Why? Naomi asked nervously. I have something to show you. They drove to Main Street. Daniel led them to a storefront with papered windows. What is this? Naomi asked. Open the door. She did, and stopped. Inside was a bakery, industrial ovens, mixer, display cases, brick walls, pendant lights. It smelled like sawdust and possibility. I don't understand, Naomi whispered. You said you wanted to be a baker once. Daniel pulled out a folder. This is for you, if you want it. What? She opened it. Deed, business license, equipment receipts. I can't afford this. You're not buying it. I am. I'm buying it, and I'm hiring you to run it. Full creative control. I'm just the investor. This is too much. It's not charity. It's business. Maple Creek needs a good bakery. You have the skills. I'm investing in something I think will succeed. This is everything. You deserve everything. Mama, Jamal tugged her hand. Does this mean you get to make bread? Naomi's voice broke. She looked around, seeing the future, the dream she'd buried. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Daniel said quietly. Say yes, and make this town warm. The kind of warm Jamal wrote about, Naomi whispered. Exactly. She turned to him, tears streaming. Why? Because I spent 20 years in a corner office making decisions about people I never met. And a 6-year-old reminded me that's what corner offices should be for. Providing heat, warmth. I can't pay you back. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to succeed, to be happy, to show Jamal that dreams wait for the right moment. Naomi completely broke down, years of exhaustion pouring out. Jamal hugged her. Happy tears, right, Mama? Yeah, baby, happy tears. Later, Daniel found Naomi staring at the kitchen. There's one condition, he said. Here it comes. Christmas. I want us all to have it together. You, Jamal, me, Aaron. Like a family. Daniel, I know I'm not your family, but family isn't just blood. It's who shows up, who stays. You've been there for us. So is that a yes? She looked at Jamal, running his hand along a display case. Then back at Daniel. Yes, to Christmas. And to all of this. You already have. Christmas morning came soft and bright. The main house smelled like cinnamon rolls, Naomi's first official bake. Jamal ran through the halls in new pajamas shouting about Santa. Aaron arrived at 9 looking nervous but determined. He'd brought gifts, a scarf for Naomi, a puzzle for Jamal, for Daniel, a photo. Aaron as a child sitting on Daniel's lap, both smiling. Where did you get this? Daniel asked. Mom's albums. Thought you might want a reminder of when things were good. Things can be good again, Daniel said. Yeah, Aaron smiled. Maybe they can. They gathered in the living room. Jamal tore through presents, new shoes, art supplies, books. But his biggest surprise came when Daniel handed him an envelope. "What's this?" "Open it." Inside was a photo. The four of them, Daniel, Aaron, Naomi, Jamal, standing in front of the bakery. Jamal's drawing had come to life. "We're a family," Jamal breathed. "A real family." "If you want to be," Daniel said. Naomi wiped her eyes. "Yeah, that's okay." Aaron nodded. "Yeah, it is." Later, they walked to the cemetery. Jamal placed a candy cane on Laura's grave. "Hi, Mrs. Laura," he said. "I'm Jamal. I'm borrowing your family. Hope that's okay. I'll take good care of them." Aaron laughed and pulled Jamal into a hug. "You're a good kid." They walked back through snow, the four of them. Jamal ran ahead. Aaron and Naomi talked about the bakery. Daniel stayed behind for a moment, looking at his house. No longer empty. Full of life. He pulled out Jamal's letter one last time. "Please, Santa. I don't care about presents. I just want Mama to be warm." "She is Jamal," Daniel whispered. "And so am I. Because of you." He folded it and put it away. Not in a drawer. On the mantel, in a frame. Inside, someone called his name. Daniel smiled and walked toward the sound. Toward warmth. Toward family. Toward home. 3 months later, Daniel stood across from a storefront on Main Street. Naomi's Hearth Bakery and Cafe. Through the window, he could see Naomi behind the counter, flour on her apron, laughing with a customer. Jamal sat at a corner table doing homework. Aaron appeared beside him with coffee. "She's killing it. Line wrapped around the block this morning. I saw. Her bread's incredible. I come 3 times a week." They watched life happen through the window. "I'm proud of you," Aaron said, "for doing this." "I'm just the investor." "Bullshit. You're the guy who read a letter and decided to do something. That's who you should have been all along." "Better late than never." "Yeah, better late than never." Aaron finished his coffee. "Dinner this weekend, all of us." All of us meant family dinners. Aaron showing Jamal baseball. Naomi teaching them to bake. Healing. Slowly. But healing. "Perfect," Daniel said. After Aaron left, Daniel crossed the street and entered the bakery. Warmth hit immediately. Jamal spotted him. "Look A on my spelling test." "Amazing, buddy." Daniel high-fived him. Naomi came over wiping her hands. "You're early. I wanted to see it. Really see it. And it's perfect. You've made something beautiful." "People keep coming back. Mrs. Henderson said this is the first place in Maple Creek that feels like home." "That's because you put heart into it." A customer called. Naomi squeezed Daniel's arm and went back to work. Daniel sat with Jamal, helped with homework. Around them, the bakery hummed with life. His phone buzzed. "Aaron, thanks for earlier. Love you, Dad." Daniel stared at those words. 8 years to see them again. He typed, "Love you too, son. See you this weekend." Jamal looked up. "Remember when I wrote that letter to Santa?" "I remember. I asked for Mama to be warm." "Did Santa send you, or did you just find it?" Daniel thought carefully. "I found the letter, but maybe Santa knew it would end up with me. Maybe Santa knew I needed to find it just as much as you needed to send it. So you're kind of like Santa's helper." "Something like that." "Cool." Jamal went back to his math. Then, "I'm glad you found it. I'm glad you came." Daniel's throat tightened. "Me too, buddy. Me too." That evening, after the bakery closed, they walked through downtown. Jamal ran ahead chasing pigeons. Naomi and Aaron talked about sandwich fillings for the lunch menu. Daniel walked behind watching. This was what the corner office had been missing. Not numbers, not contracts. This. People. Connection. They passed Whitmore Capital, 20 stories reflecting the sunset. Daniel looked up at his corner office window. "You okay?" Aaron had fallen back. "Yeah, just thinking about how I used to sit up there thinking I was making important decisions. And now..." He gestured to Jamal, to Naomi. "Now I know what important actually looks like. It looks like a kid chasing pigeons. It looks like family. However you find it." Aaron bumped his shoulder. "You're getting philosophical." "I'm getting human." They caught up at the park. Jamal wanted the swings. Naomi said 5 minutes. Daniel pushed Jamal, watching him arc higher, laughing. "Higher!" Jamal shouted. "I want to touch the sky." Daniel pushed harder. Jamal soared, his laughter echoing. And Daniel thought about the letter, about red crayon asking for heat, about how a child's hope had changed everything. Naomi had her bakery, her dream. Aaron had his father back, not the old version, something better, something present. And Daniel had a family, not the one he'd been born with, but the one he'd chosen, the one that had chosen him back. "Okay, that's enough," Naomi called. "Time to go." They walked back to Daniel's house. Home, Jamal called it now. That night, after Naomi and Jamal went to the guest house after Aaron drove away, Daniel stood in his kitchen. But he didn't feel alone. He walked to the mantel where Jamal's letter hung framed. Read it again. Please, Santa, I don't care about presents. I just want Mama to be warm. She is, Daniel whispered. And so am I. Because of you, Jamal. Because of all of you. His phone buzzed. Naomi Jamal wanted me to tell you goodnight. He says you're definitely Santa's helper. Daniel smiled. Typed, tell him Santa says goodnight too, and that I'm proud of him. He looked around his house. Photos lined the mantel. Aaron as a child. Aaron now. Naomi and Jamal at the bakery opening. All four at Christmas. A family. Not traditional. Not blood, some of them. But family. Tomorrow he'd make breakfast. Aaron would text something funny. Naomi would send a photo of the morning rush. Jamal would draw another picture. Life would continue. Ordinary. Beautiful. Warm. And Daniel Whitmore, who'd spent 20 years in a corner office learning to be cold, would spend the rest of his life learning to be warm. Not because he had to, because he wanted to. Because a 6-year-old boy had written a letter asking for heat and somehow miraculously had given it instead, in memory of every child who's ever had to ask for basic necessities, in honor of every parent who's fought to provide them, and in hope that we all remember the most important decisions aren't made in corner offices, they're made in the small moments when we choose to show up, to stay, to be human. May we all find our way home to warmth.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.